In this video, we're going to be talking about Euler's number, simplifying natural base expressions, and sketching graphs of the natural base. So let's start with what exactly is Euler's number. Euler's number is an irrational number that is non-repeating. It's 2.71828182846, and it goes on for forever. It's also known as the number E. Now, as x increases, our E will approach an expression, and that expression is 1 plus 1 over x quantity raised to the x power. Here, we can see a sketch of what the natural base of E looks like. Let's go ahead and let's practice simplifying some of our expressions. So here we have an e to the third times an e to the sixth. So we're going to treat the e just as a normal base right now. And because they match, we're able to take our 3 and our 6 and add them, which is going to give us an e to the 9th power. And that will be our solution there. For letter B, we have 16e to the 5th divided by 4e to the 4th. So let's start by dividing 16 by 4. 4 goes into itself one time, and we'll go into 16 4 times. And then here we have our bases, and they're stacked, which means we get to take our exponents and subtract, because when they're stacked, you subtract. And we're going to be left with, rather, a 4. And then there's more e's on the top and the bottom, right? So 5 minus 4 is a positive 1. And so we'll have e to the first power. So we could write a 1 there, but we don't need to because it's just a 1. So that gives us 4 to the e. For letter C, we have the quantity 3e raised to the negative 4x, all squared. And so here, we need to take that squared and we're going to distribute it to each piece. So what that's going to look like is 3 squared, and then we're going to have e to the negative 4x, and that's going to be raised to that second power. So if we take a look at this first part, our 3 squared here, that's going to give us a 9. And here we have our base of e, and it already has one exponent, the negative 4x, right, that negative 4x. But now it also has this 2 as well. So it's kind of like a tip top. So what we get to do is take that negative 4x and that 2 and multiply them. And so that's going to give us an e to the negative 8x. And that is going to be, well, it's almost going to be our solution because we don't want to have a negative exponent. So we'll need to rewrite this so that we have a positive exponent. And so this is going to become a 9 over e to the 8x. And we have our final solution there. Let's move on to sketching some examples of some graphs. So the trick here is to use your calculator to help you make a table. So we'll go ahead and we'll set up for our table. So we'll have our x and our f of x. And let's do something for negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. Or rather, let's do negative 2. Let's change those. Let's go from negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So we'll pull up our calculator, and here we'll put in our equation 2 times e raised to the 0.24x. And then we'll go to our table, and it tells us what our values are. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to write each of those down. So for negative 2, we'll put 1.2376. And we could kind of round this as well because we can't really graph by hand the 0.2376. So let's go ahead and let's write down the values for our table. So go ahead and push pause and do that. When you're done, push play and we'll continue. So now that we've got those written down, let's go ahead and let's graph those. So we have negative 2 and about 1 1/4, and then negative 1 and about a little more than 1 1/2, and 0 and 2, and 1 and a little bit more than 2 1/2, and then 3 and a little bit more, or sorry, 2 and then a little bit more than 3, almost 3 1/4. And then from there, we're able to graph that. And so we'll go ahead and be going towards our asymptote of 0, moving up. There we go. And so we have a nice little sketch of that. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this again, but this time with our other equation. So let's go ahead and let's bring up our calculator and let's put that into the y equals. So go ahead and let's see, let's move our calculator over. All right, so we have 1/2 times e raised to the negative 0.58x. And we're ready to go to our table. Let's go ahead and let's set up our table so that we're ready to write down those values. So we're going to have our x and our g of x. We'll do the same values, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So now we're ready to go to our table. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing, round that to 2 decimal places. So go ahead and push pause, and then when you're done, push play, and we'll go from there. And so now that we've got those written down, we can go ahead and we can graph those. So we're going to -2, and we'll go just over 1.5, almost to 2. And then -1 and almost to the number 1. And 0 and 0.5 is about halfway. And then 1 and just over 1/4. And 2 and really just above 0 for the most part. And then we can go ahead and we can graph that with our slight curves. And there we go. And that's how you can sketch the graphs of our natural logs.